everyone. Hope everyone's doing well today. So, I was scrolling through my Facebook and I saw a case pop up about a illegal immigrant who is on trial for murder. Now, keep that in mind, murder. But when he was detained or searched, however you want to call it, he claimed that his constitutional rights, preferably the Fifth Amendment, was violated. And it started to cause a bit of a stir, which people started asking, well, do illegal aliens have constitutional rights under the United States of America? Well, that's a mixed bag. And I'm going to try my best to explain to you, but I found a website that even though it was pro, open borders and protect the illegal immigrants, before they got to their bit at the end, they actually did do a very good job going in and explaining, okay, there was a case that this happened, which really started stirring up the Supreme Court. There's been a few other cases, and this is part of what's going on. So the answer is yes. Illegal immigrants do have some constitutional rights. Some. Now, of course, there are some God-given natural rights that everyone has, the right of freedom and such. And, due process it should be for everyone. Whether you're illegal or not, everyone does have a right to due process and their day in court. But do they necessarily have constitutional rights how a U.S. citizen enjoys it? Well, that's what I'm trying to here to discuss with y'all. So the 14th and 15th Amendment was created to protect people basically of all kinds in America. The clauses, how it's worded is, it says persons. It doesn't say U.S. citizens or white people even, or brown people. No, it just says persons, regardless of religion, nationality, all that fun stuff. And it's to help protect people from unjust, because as bad as the left claims that America is, we are actually a very fair society, I personally believe. I mean, come on, we have two amendments that is dedicated to such things. I like to think we're pretty fair. Anyway, beyond the point, what got me going is the guy said that his constitutional rights were being violated, as I said, and it was going to go up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court was basically going to decide, does someone who is here undocumented and illegal have constitutional rights like a citizen? Do they have certain standards? And in the article that I'll post, they do have some, but they also miss out on a lot. Like, an undocumented immigrant or an illegal immigrant, they don't have a right to vote, unlike the citizens. They also don't have the right to bear arms, like the citizens. There's constitutional privileges that we do enjoy just as citizens. Now, why is this important? You might be wondering. It's like, why are you talking about this? This is foolish. This is stupid. This is like, why should we care? And I understand that, why should you care? Well, there's a reason for that. So a friend of mine shared me an article, which I'll also post. Apparently the executive branch came out and they said no, illegal aliens, especially those who have committed more felonies, not just entering the country illegally, but in like that gentleman's case, murder and such, they don't have a right to due process. Now, I understand where he's coming from, or the executive branch is coming from at this point, but at the same time, I do believe everyone does deserve due process. They deserve their day in court, innocent till proven guilty, not guilty until proven innocent. But the thing is, the next presidential office, or the next group of even Supreme Court nominees, they could change this. And this is why I'm talking about this. So, say if the court said, yes, this guy does have constitutional rights, I'm trying to figure out how to word it correctly. Give me a second. So if they said yes, how many more, people at the border, at refugee camps, or not the refugee camps, the border customs camps, how many other people who have been here illegal just haven't been caught, how many of them will, they'll rise up and go, well, hey, we have constitutional rights too. We have the right to this. We have the right to that. And if the Constitution is viewed as you don't necessarily have to be a citizen, if the Constitution is viewed as you just have to be in the nation, well, there is problems with that. And why I'm talking about this is because I believe it can open a door to other possible problems that we could face as a nation. As many of y'all know, the left is just hell-bent on opening the borders, letting anyone and everyone in without processing them, without seeing who's coming in. They just, open the door, come on, come all, come to the festival that is America, which will turn us into a melting pot, but conversation for another time. How much more would they demand, is what I'm trying to say. If illegal immigrants are given the rights of the Constitution without taking the proper steps and becoming an actual citizen of the United States, how many illegal immigrants will come up and go, well, hey, since we have constitutional rights, we should be able to vote. Part of the reason why we have voter ID laws is not voter suppression, it's to ensure that the citizens are voting in election for the citizens, not elections for the illegal immigrant to decide what they feel is best for them instead of the citizenry. Because the reality is an illegal immigrant is most likely going to vote against something that the citizens won't. Where a citizen might want to secure the border, an illegal immigrant would vote against a secured border because, a open border benefits the illegal immigrant more than it does the citizen, because then if the open border's there, they're no longer an illegal immigrant because it's open borders. All they have to do is say, hey, I came here, the borders are open. They basically get a get out of jail free card, is kind of the best way I can put it. So if they go down that route and they demand, the right to vote, well, then who's to say that they won't start demanding, hey, we have the right to bear arms too, we have the right of the Second Amendment. And when you buy a gun, for those who do buy guns, you do have to be a citizen. You can't buy a gun legally without being a citizen. That's part of the background check. Now, some of y'all might sit there and say, well, that seems really racist. It's not racism. It's to make sure that, a citizen of the United States has a social security number. We're able to do a background check on them. We're able to see the history. That's the point of a background check. While a non-citizen who doesn't have a social security number or any form of government-issued, United States government-issued ID, technically they shouldn't be getting a gun illegally because we have nothing on their background. We'd have to go through a different nation, and it opens up a big headache. But gun companies or gun distributors are not supposed to sell to non-citizens. Now, of course, does that stop them? Well, does that stop non-citizens from getting guns? Absolutely not. Plenty of black market deals. I mean, that's what the black market is there for. So if they get the right to bear arms, get the right to vote, I mean, they'll just basically make the Constitution as if you were in the United States, our Constitution applies to you, whether you are a citizen or a non-citizen. They will get the same benefits as a citizen. Now, some of the people, some of you might be sitting there going, well, that sounds great, we're all under the same laws and same jurisdiction and everything else. But this might sound a little bit more conspiracy theorist, and I understand that. But if you get enough people in a town and they start overrunning the certain people, whether they're citizens or not, who's to say that they're not going to start voting for changes that they want that benefits, themselves as a non-citizen? Like here's an example. What if a town becomes Hispanic dominant? I'm just using that as an example. They get into political power and such, and they choose to go, well, hey, most of this county is now Hispanic, so we're just gonna make it where the signs are Hispanic so people can learn and drive around safely. Now, I understand that sounds very ridiculous, but at the same time, it is a possibility. Just like I keep forgetting the name of the state, Missouri, I think it's Missouri. Their capital is a Islamic country now. They voted to have the Islamic prayer bells ring like 5 times a day. And let me tell you, those get annoying. When I was in Iraq, it was just all the time. They get very annoying. But you see, that was a population that grew to a certain culture or a certain belief, and they got into political power and they decided to change it how it fitted them because, they are the majority now. They are the majority. The United States citizens was the minority. Or not necessarily United States citizens, just like, the non-Islam or the non-Muslims, they were now the minority because they had the majority. Stuff like that could happen to where, towns could get flooded with people of different cultures, different beliefs, and different values. And, if they get in political power to where if Constitution then applies to just anyone in the United States instead of just the citizens, well, they can use the Constitution and they can start changing towns and states to fit their standards. And a lot of people like America as it is. I know there's tons of left-wing nuts out there that say, America needs to change. We need to do this. We need to do that. We need to open the borders. We need to be more diverse. We need to be more representation. We all hear it all the time. I mean, we hear it absolutely all the time. But a lot of people like America as it is. And, a lot of people want to preserve American culture because American culture is not just white. It's not about being white. It's not about being male, like how these people tell you. America is about being an American. It's about those sweet home grandma apple pies, flying the flag on the 4th of July, and yes, including our guns, helping each other as our neighbors. America wasn't built on racism, on bigotry, on slavery. It was built on the hope that people can come in and be free and accept that American value, that American way of life, that American dream. I mean, we recognize the fact that the Chinese helped build the railway between the East and the West. We recognize the fact that, Texas was strongly part of the Hispanic culture back in the day until Texas rebelled because they didn't want to be part of Mexico anymore. But that's a history lesson for another time. And, we recognize the fact that, yeah, we had slaves, but a lot of those slaves helped build the plantations and help grow American wealth. Were they bad? Absolutely. But at the same time, you can't just focus on the negativity all the time. You have to focus on the positives as well, even if it's something bad. And as I said, I know someone somewhere will go, well, that's just cold and heartless. You sound like a white supremacist. But it's like, no, I'm not. I'm just trying to explain all sides of our history, both the good and the bad. And if we have it to where it may not be this presidency, because a friend of mine sent an article that said no, illegal immigrants have no due process, or certain types of illegal immigrants, I should say. But if we make it to where that Constitution applies to everyone, they will use our own laws against us. People, the call of home is real. All right? The call of home is real, no matter where you go, no matter where you live. If you lived in, let's just say, Guatemala, and then you move up to America, and America's English speaking, we have English words and everything else, and if you don't know the language, and if you can't read the language, you're gonna miss home. You're gonna miss a place where you could speak the language. You can learn how to, read. You didn't have to go through classes to learn another nation's language. And if the constitutional rights apply to you, you can get your, I guess I'll say, chosen one, to where you're like, hey, look, you get in political power, we'll become the majority of this town. We'll just make it like home, so that way it fits our standards. As I said, a lot of y'all might sound like, oh, this is just conspiracy theory, or a lot of y'all might be going, this is hate rhetoric, this is hate speech. It's not. It's how things happen in the world. It's how cultures have shifted from one thing to another throughout history. And the same thing will happen to America unless we as Americans, regardless of your color, ethnicity, and religion, who just love this nation for this nation, we gotta put up our flag on the ground and go, look, we will let you in. We want you to come. But at the same time, we can't have you coming in and shifting our towns and our laws to your towns and your laws, because these are our towns and laws. This is America, not Mexico, not China, not Japan, not Europe, not the Middle East, not Africa. No, this is America. Because the unique thing about America is it was not built on skin color or religion. It was built on the foundations that any man and woman can be free and live freely. And we have to keep up those values, because the reality is America is extremely unique in the world. And if our government gives powers to those who don't necessarily share our values or don't accept our values or don't even like our nation, if we give them powers to overturn those values and to change them into something else, they will. And it really makes me sad that there's a lot of people in this world who do want to see this. So, my closing verdict, or my closing words here is, I do believe that illegal immigrants and immigrants of all, and refugees, they do have rights under due process, and they have the right to their day in court and such. But when it comes to just allowing the Constitution to apply to just anyone living in the United States, no, I don't agree. I don't agree that should be the case. I believe the Constitution should just apply to all of its citizens. So therefore, not so we're racist and white supremacists, no. So we can give an incentive to make and want people to be citizens of the United States. Because if we make it an incentive, more people will want to become citizens, because they will want those freedoms more than ever. They will want that right to bear arms. They'll want that right to vote. But if we just give it to them without them even working for it, they'll just use it against us and turn the nation as they see fit, especially if they are the majority and the Americans are the minority. Anyway, folks, sorry about the length of the video, and I know I got a little off topic, but it's just, it had to be said. It had to be explained, and I hope I explained it well. As I said, I'll put the links in the description. Definitely check them out. And definitely check out that one article. It's a good read. It is a good read. Folks, thank y'all so much for watching. I'll see y'all later.